Will Alok join today? Ravi, can you confirm if Alok will join today?
Okay, let me check.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So as we discussed yesterday, last time, we are going to start with our with building our e-commerce application, and I'm going to show you like how to start the design thinking, and then I'm going to show you like how to start with coding and everything. Okay, so at the start, we are just going to um, do the design part, which is the UX part, and then we will move towards the UI part. And today I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction about scaffolding also. So let's let me share my screen. Okay, let's okay. Guys, am I audible? Hi,
Yes, sir,
hi.
maybe, but font size is very small.
What's small? The font
Font,
size?
yeah, font size, screen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Is it okay now?
Okay.
Right. So let's move to a whiteboard first. Let's discuss what are the things that we're gonna do. Right. So our app is going to look something like this. Sorry, where are the shapes? Okay, anyways. So you're gonna so at the top you're going to have this nav bar, and inside this nav bar you will have like there will be a home tab, this home button I guess, and then you're going to have a sorry you're going to have a home then maybe wish list. Sorry. Wish list. Okay. And then you are going to have a, you know, and home and wish list and what else? Okay, then you might have, and in here you may have something called a cart.
Are you doing something on Notepad or something? Because we can see only the code's screen.
So, sorry, you can see what?
App.js file.
Okay, you are seeing this one. Okay, okay. I think we need to share. Okay, wait. Yeah, are you able to see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this cart here should be some item here, and this should not be like a cart. I mean, it should be an icon here, and beside this icon in the brackets, you should have the number of items you have in the cart, and then you might also have a checkout button. Checkout. Okay, now beneath this is going to be our search bar, wherein it should display the text like search by product name, category, excuse me, and there should be a search icon at the start here. Okay, and then you will have individual cards here. So each card is going to contain a product image, then it's going to contain an input tag, which will be at the bottom. Title. Okay. Are you guys able to see the screen? I think you are.
Yes,
So,
Swami.
okay. Okay, so this is how it's gonna look like. So there should be a currency symbol at the start. There should be price, and the price should be displayed. There should be the product title, and this is the product image. Just write it here. Yeah, so this is how the cards are gonna look like. Each card will have an image, a title, a description section. So the title is gonna be like highlighted, like bold and something. Then you will have the description. Then you have the currency symbol. Then you will have the price, and this is the, I can say. Um, I mean, this is where the price will be displayed, and this input text will essentially will ask you for the quantity that you want to buy, and then there will be another button. This button will add it to your. There will be two buttons. One will add to your cart, and one will add to your wish list. Okay. So this one will be add to cart, and the other one will be add to wish list. Yeah. And this input box will basically want the quantity, like how much quantity you want to buy, and yeah, then it will be like add to cart and add to wish list. So this is the general idea of like how it's gonna be. So let's So the reason why I created the wire, I mean this kind of a diagram first is like to give, there are two things. First thing is to give you an idea of how it's gonna be, how it's gonna look like once we start developing it. The other one is to uh, because in the real world, in the industry, we generally don't start coding right away. We create something called a wireframe. A wireframe is like a schematic of how your UI is gonna look like. And this here right in front of you is an example of what a like more or less how a wireframe actually looks like. Okay, so this is like not like complete in the sense that this does not cover how your UI is gonna look like on a, what I can say, on a mobile phone. Okay. So on a mobile phone, what we are gonna do is like if it has been viewed on a phone, we will convert this navbar into a sidebar. Okay, so there will be like three lines, and when you click on this home, wish list, checkout, cart, all these things will appear. Okay, and the rest of the things are gonna remain the same. Only the difference would be that these cards that are there, three in number, okay, these cards won't be like three, so it will be like displayed in one by one, line by line, kind of. If it is viewed on a mobile phone, if it's viewed on a tablet or a desktop, then this is what we are gonna stick to. Now the question here arises is, if we only talk about the UX part, okay, then how we are going to create the UX? I mean, how we are going to write the CSS, how we are going to start creating the individual things. The first thing is like you can take in React, you can take a, top-down approach, or you can take a bottom-up approach. Generally, I prefer the bottom-up approach. So because that way, if following a bottom up approach helps me componentize my application in a better way in comparison to top down approach. So in a bottom up approach, what we are going to do is like we are going to uh, what we are going to do is like we are going to see like Okay. Can you guys see my screen right now? I mean, see this website here?
In the whiteboard. Comment.
You're not able to see wireframe here on my browser. I mean, the wireframe website that I opened right now.
We are still on the whiteboard page only.
Okay, got it. I was opening it in the other. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, so the first thing when you see this wireframe is you have to figure out what all things are required by you. Okay, like as part of the components, what all things are. Yeah. Yeah, so what all things are required as part of the UX? You require this search bar, you require a card, okay, and you require a nav bar, okay, and then you require a few buttons, okay. Oh yeah, there should also be a search button here. I forgot. So yeah. Yeah, so there should be a no button. So we can see that there are like three different kinds of buttons. One is this button, one is this button, and one is this button. So one is like large button, one is two are small buttons. Okay. So yeah, we will require some buttons. We will require
Uh,
yeah,
Somendra, search is a bar, right?
which one? This
Search,
one? Yeah,
search.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean bar in the sense like a long input box.
yeah, yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's that those things are there. So let's so what we require is we require to create a card. We require to create a nav bar. We require to create a search bar. We require a button which should be like larger in size, and that's all. So let's start one by one. Okay. The first thing that we are gonna do is can we drag this down? Uh, Not able to do that. Okay, anyways. So we're gonna create a new folder and we're gonna write it as uh, let's call it elements. Okay. Then there will be a sorry, not a file. Then there is gonna be a folder called pages. Okay. So what this elements is going to entail is this elements will contain all the different kinds of styles and different kinds of things that we create. Okay, so let's start with it. Okay. The first thing that we are going to do with this is to create a button. Button. So a button will have some styles. So we create a folder called styles, and then we create a index. Right. So what I want to show you from this is how we do something called sorry, scaffolding. So in React, scaffolding is a thing that like how you are gonna structure your web application. Okay. And this is like, so when you do the scaffolding of your web application, what you need to keep in your mind is like, your components should be generic and you are going to use the generic components of your application into your real application. So this is so the structure or the way you're going to structure your web application is what we call scaffolding. So when you become a little bit experienced, you will realize that there's no one correct scaffolding technique in a way. Okay, there can be multiple correct ways, but generally the mistake that I see freshers doing is like what they do is like when they have to create a large button, they just create it within the component itself. Let's say when they are writing, where did it go? My friend, yeah. So this entire thing will be inside a div, right? So when they are creating this like parent div, inside it they write the app bar. They also write the CSS for the app bar. They write the search this button, search button. They also write the CSS for the search button. So that is incorrect. Okay. If you are using like these two until unless you know for sure that this kind of button or this kind of search bar is not going to get used anywhere else in the code, then maybe it is permissible, but generally this is not. Okay, so you should make sure that if you are using any kind of components or elements, HTML elements, then you should always create a separate component, because that helps you to that helps your code to be more customizable. Because someday if you have written a button, someday if someone wants to change create a new kind of button, like a smaller button, then he can also do that with a very minimal like the important thing is that he will not require any kind of code refactoring. So you know what code refactoring is, right? Guys, do you know what code refactoring is?
No, no, Samendra.
Okay, so code refactoring means that you like changing the structure of your app. Okay, so what I mean to say is like, let's say that you have a you know let's say you have made some, you have added some code somewhere, and now you have to move that particular code to some other code. Let's say that you created a component. Okay, now you have imported that component into several other components. Now let's say if you want to change the location of that component, then the import path for that component also changes. So imagine how many places where you will have to make the changes just because you change the path of that component. Right. So if you do not properly scaffold your application, then as your application grows, it will become more and more kind of difficult for you to do the refactoring of your code. And that's why scaffolding needs to be done from the start and needs to be done correctly. Okay, that's all. Now,
Question,
there,
Samendra.
yeah.
One question. If suppose there is a requirement like first something contact information details were displayed in a drawer form, but later
Mhm.
on they have upgraded it to display instead of drawer they want in a model format. So that will come under code refactoring or something new.
So your question is like initially they want the contact information to be in a drawer form, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then later on they change it to what?
A model, just a pop-up model in a square format in a pop-up model.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, see if you're so for that you have to like delete one component and create one another. You cannot really do. But yeah, if you have scaffolded your application in the correct way, then you may have to make very minimal changes to your application. Okay, because your the drawer that you are creating, this will this will use all the HTML components that you already have. All you have to do is like create a pop-up comp instead of the model component, replace it with a pop-up component, and then you have to make some changes to the button from clicking on which the pop-up appears. So yeah, that's the only change that you'll have to do. And if you have like not scaffolded your application properly, then in that case, this may be a little troublesome. because you will because all your styles and everything will be there within the same component. Then in that case it may be a little bit difficult for you to simply replace the drawer component with the more pop-up component, because you may have to make several changes in several other places in the file.
Okay, got you.
Okay, so yeah. Right. So this is, I was talking about scaffolding, but let's leave that aside for a second. Okay, we will not talk about scaffolding right now. Instead, what we are going to do is, okay, let's see. Okay, while it loads and it says connecting to dev server. Okay, while it loads, let's focus on other things. Yeah, so I was talking about scaffolding, but let's, before you start thinking about scaffolding or how to, like, how you're going to structure your application by breaking this UX into several smaller components. Even before that, you have to think about something called theming, theming your application. So let's say that, you know, let's say that your website is going to have a theme color. Okay, you cannot, like, generally you might have seen that if your do not if your UX does not have consistency, then it does not look good. For example, you created a nav bar with pink color and then you added green color to the buttons, then you added some color to the cards or something. Okay, random colors do not look good, right? So in for consistency, and generally, if you see, let's say Facebook, you'll see that Facebook all through carries a certain theme. Their theme is like blue color, right? Similarly, Amazon, they carry a certain theme like yellow color. Okay, then you have Twitter, which is blue color. So theming is important because it helps you to maintain consistency on your application. So how to do theming? So the first thing that you need to do is go to your style.css, remove all these things, right root. Okay, and in here, so we want, let's say that our search bar, our search button is going to be green in color. Okay, then or the our navbar is going to, or no. So whatever the color of the search button is going to be, should the search bar should also be of the same color. Okay. So let's call it the primary color. Okay. So we define three different colors here. One would be the primary color. Okay. So something right now, we just keep it as white. Then we define secondary color. Is white for now, and then define tertiary. Okay. Apart from that, we also need to define some themes, right? So let's say that I define some, I mean, sorry, not themes, I mean the font of how the text is going to look like. Okay, maybe we don't define, okay, or maybe we define the font. Let's say font family. Okay. So let's say this one. And font size to be Maybe we don't define font size here. We'll do it someplace else. So we define font to be the font family. Sorry, variable. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's not define font here. I'll talk about fonts later on. Let's just simply keep it to theming of colors first. Okay, so these are the colors. Primary color is something that we are going to use on the primary buttons, and and the primary elements of the page, which is our app bar and this primary search button. And then we will think about something else, like where we will use secondary or tertiary colors. So let's choose our colors first. You can choose it from, there are many different palettes available. Generally, I go for materialize. So in, let's say what, um, so I think maybe we can go with this theme. Let that be our primary color. Okay. And maybe the secondary color can be this one. And tertiary color can be this one. Okay, so we are going to change this. We will add more colors to this, for example, success color, error, etc. But we are going to do it later on. Now let's start with our button class. Okay, so we are going to import React first. Okay, now mm, okay, so let's do it like this. Inside this, we create another styles folder. Say we create buttons, and inside it we create a file called button large. Okay, so we write React. First thing that we are going to do is export constant button large. Yeah. Let's call it class. Okay, so these are the two classes that we need to define first. But first, let's import it in our app.js and see if it works. Okay. Now, before importing that, first is like this is not a default export, right? This is just export. So first thing is we are going to import this button large. First import React and React. Import this button large from about. Okay, so this should be buttons slash button large. Right. export default large. Now let's come here. Okay, or maybe we, sorry, should be import exported as default. Import it here and export it like this. Right. Now let's come to app.js. Import sorry, large from should be from within elements. But now we just need to remove this part. Need to, okay. That's all. Now let's see if this works. Actually, there's nothing showing here, and I don't know what's happening to this one. Okay.
Somendra, are you there?
Yeah, hi guys. So there seems to be some issue going on with their servers. StackBridge server says connecting to dev server, but it just doesn't connect. So what can we do? Let's say. So what I'll do is like I'll do the coding and then I'll download all the files and I'll keep it somewhere and then I'll upload. I'll next session I'll run it on my local and show it to you. If it does not work here, like if their server continues to be like this. Okay, so this is like one thing that you need to do. Uh, yeah, similarly, you will have another. Yeah. Nothing small. Okay. Sorry, this is not recorded. Right, so this is like what I want to show you from here is how to do scaffolding. And more. And probably forward to export it from here. Right. So now you're exporting both the large button and the small button from here. Now remember that when you pass it from here in the app.js, you have to pass the prop button title because it takes the prop button title, right? So we have to write button large. The title is going to be search for us. So we'll pass search. Okay, so and then inside this button you will have this styles. Inside the styles you can have the index.css or yeah, maybe you can also have styles.css. We just prefer index.css. In here you have to define two classes. One is button and one is button large. So like in LT button large. No, it was button large only. Okay. Right. So for the button, we are just going to give it the styles, like what styles the button is going to have. Okay. So if you consider the button, what size style is going to have, then you can obviously, the first thing that you may notice or you may think about is like the button does not have, uh, yeah, the button does not have any, uh, you know, what I can say, a border, right? The button does not have any border. The border does not have any style. So based on that, you can design your button. Let me just show you like what I'm trying to say. First, our button will have some color, right? So we give it a background color. And we use the variable, the CSS variable, and we use the primary color. If you remember, we were talking about theming and we defined the primary color here. So we put it here. Then the border should not have anything, so we'll keep it as none. The color of the text should be white. Then the text alignment should be center. Okay. Okay. The text decoration should be none because we don't want to apply our fonts inside the title of the button. Okay. So the display size, sorry, what the display size, I mean, no, not the display size, sorry. The display should be like inline block, and font size you can keep it as maybe 3 rep, right? And what else is there? Yeah, you may have to apply some padding, like one is padding top and the other one will be padding top, let's say 50%, padding left, let's say 50%. Okay, so this is like okay, one thing, this padding should not, and this font size, you should not apply these things here. So you should apply these things inside this class because this is what defines, this is what makes your button large, right? Your font size and all these things. One thing here you can also define is the height. Let's say height can be like 5 viewport height, which means that 5% of the viewport height. So this is how you should do it. So the button is primarily will contain the style of your button, and the button large is going to contain the style of how your like large button should be. Okay, so that is, and then there's also this button small button. Okay, this small class. So you also need to define it here. Button small, and we just copy it from here. We decrease the font size to let's say 1.5 rep, half of it. Padding top, padding top and bottom does not affect anything. And let's decrease this height to 1 viewport, percent of the viewport. So now the classes that your buttons are using, all the classes are defined. Now all you have to do now is like import and import the CSS class. So it will be styles dot CSS. Um, excuse me.
Samantha, you are in mute.
Yeah, so I was just writing the code. So yeah, that's about it. This is how our buttons are made. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show you the output because their dev servers seems to have be having an issue connecting to. So I'll download this code and then I'll run it and then I'll be able to show you the output. But from the code that I've written, you can pretty much understand how scaffolding works, right? Okay, so we have created these buttons. Now we also need to create the navbar. So we create a new folder, name it navbar, and inside this we will obviously have the styles folder, which will contain all the CSS, and we have the index JS folder, which will contain our navbar. Or it's generally better to have a different component for this, so you can actually have just navbar JS and here we'll import from React. Right, what's the navbar? Right, so like when you create a navbar, the first thing that we need to know is like what all things are here: home, wish list, checkout, and cart. Okay, so a navbar is nothing, it's just an unordered list of some elements. So we create this unordered list here. Oops. Yeah, we create this unordered list here, and we simply add our things to it. Uh, so yeah, just add it. Try a let's say this should be like home, wish list, and checkout. Home, home, wish list, out, cart. Right. So this is how our navbar looks like now. All we have to do is like create the styles for it. So let's make it like CSS here. And the first thing that you want is like uh, the first thing is generally if you remember that if you use a what I can say an unordered list, then you will get some bullet points where you will have all the contents written. So we don't want that. So the first thing that we are going to do is like remove those styles. So what we will do is like we are targeting the UL section, or maybe we don't do that. Let's call it let make it a class navbar container class. Sorry, this should be class name. We are writing JSX here. Navbar container navbar UL. Let's name it up till here first. Navbar UL. Okay, so first I'll do is like I'll do this list style type none, which will remove all those bullet points. Then I'll remove the margin and padding to 0. Remove all the basic styling from it. Then I'll make the overflow as like maybe auto. No, overflow will be hidden. Okay, then so that it does not create that scroll bar when the contents get out of box. And the background color should be our primary color that we define there. Then I want these things to be on the left side. So I'll have to make some small adjustment here. Uh, so I'll have to like uh, just take this one out from here. Here, paste it here, and then navbar UL right content. Navbar content. It should be navbar right content. Okay, so let's define this first. Okay, so here we are going to float the elements to the left, and if it's the right content, then we are going to float the elements to the right. Okay, right. So we want another thing. We want like for each of the elements in the nav bar. So if we hover over it, then it should change their color a little bit so that we know that we are over a certain thing. So what we are going to do is like we will use our selector property, and let's say so let's say a L, sorry, Li and A hover, the hover, and we change the background color on hover. For now, just keep it as your. Okay. So that's all. Now we have to just import it here. Next.css, and now we need to run by here. Don't need this. In here you can, or in your app also, you can just import app bar from hub, and you can place the nav bar. So remember, the tag for the nav bar is different. If this is like your body tag, then your nav bar should be go inside this nav tag. Okay. Nav tag render your nav bar. So that's all you have to do. Okay, unfortunately, I'm not able to show you the output today, but I'll show you the output for this code tomorrow. Okay, and yeah, what I want you to understand, because right today we just wrote some basic HTML and CSS, and that's not the purpose. I mean, you're well aware how to write HTML and CSS, but the purpose here is to essentially show you like how exactly we break our components into smaller components, and then we use those components in our app. Okay, so like that's what we call scaffolding, and you can see like how the entire application is folded. So inside the application you have elements and pages. These pages will have the different pages. These every component of these pages will use elements. Okay, each element is basically a basic HTML page element that we have defined. Okay, and these are all customizable. Like for example, this is taking button title. This may also accept some other parameters based on which you want to showcase your button. Okay, so yeah, so that's all about scaffolding for today. And tomorrow, maybe we'll start with the only one thing that will be left would be to create our card. Okay, but tomorrow we will start with creating our app bar and the card. Okay, so once that is done, I think we will be good with our UX, and then we can start integrating our app. Okay, okay, so that's all for today. Let me know if you guys have any questions.
So I'm good.
Okay, yeah, because
So, Somendra, we have to do it in the VS Code only, right? This is something
yeah, yeah,
standard.
yeah, you have to do it in the VS Code only. This is tag blades because today in my system there's some issue. That's why I'm not able to like start the VS Code. Okay, but you should do it in your VS Code only.
Okay. And
Okay.
this, and one last question. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Thank you. Here I'm getting one error. I don't know. It's working. Uh, working now, but before said it's not. 1 minute. No questions, Samudra. Before that, I got the message like this, but now it's working.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. So I think who are there? So I think Divya and Sadhika. Sadhika didn't join today.